most creative in the world.
Easily, bro.
Dude, thank you.
You're awesome.
That is, thanks, man. Or take this one, I'll grab that one.
Easily the most creative guy in the industry. So
Thank you.
What I wanted to tap in with him today is like, where does this creativity come from? But what's crazy is I actually got the chance to hear him talk a little bit about this on stage before. And so we're gonna pull up some examples, some ideas, some of his strategies, and kind of see if we can elevate everyone's creativity in the room. But I kind of want to start with a little bit of the context of the acquisition, guys. Does creativity come from the top of Mount Everest or Monaco? What's up with that?
I think that's a very nice title. I appreciate it. I don't know if I'm the most creative, but I love to be creative. You know, I think it's something that you really have to lean into. And I would say creativity, I've shared this before, I think creativity comes from the action. Creativity comes from the doing. And I certainly draw a lot of inspiration from climbing, from my family. I think with real estate, the same with creativity, it's hard to do it from a negative mindset. I think that's why you find so many successful salespeople are like Tony Robbins, you know, disciples, or Earl Nightingale disciples, because the mindset is everything. And I think it's really tough to create from a space of negativity, or it's tough to create from a space of scarcity. And, you know, when I think about climbing and the joy it brings me, or I think there's a lot of parents in here and I'm just beginning to learn these feelings. I know you know this better than me. But just the joy that my son is giving me now, and it puts me in a mindset to want to create. And I think without that mindset, it's very difficult to do anything positive.
Yeah, there's so much in this phrase of comes from the doing. In fact, we're gonna have him elaborate on this a little bit later, but I think that sums it up so well. Like, it's how much are you doing that you can then draw momentum towards for creating content. So we got a bunch of different video examples today. We'll play some of these, and then we'll have him kind of break it down in terms of his strategy. But actually, let's play the video first.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your $20,000 penthouse in the sky high above downtown LA. In my royalty action, let's take a tour and see why this place might be your best life. Start your morning with a wireless controlled espresso because who has time for pushing buttons? Imagine savoring that rich brew at your dining table, soaking in views of the restaurants, and have breakfast with a side of man, baby. The kitchen is a masterpiece. It ain't touch sense for refrigerator because let's face it, open doors is the best. Add in a 15-foot waterfall countertop and Yagna appliances, your cooking style, my friend. Moving on, let's talk about the primary bedroom suite. This is just a place to sleep. It's a sanctuary. But the real game jump, jaw dropper is the marble bathroom. Every surface is marble except for the glass, giving you a front row seat to ocean views on it.
I hate my voice.
This palace stands
I fucking hate my voice.
4 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. In this office has powerhouse views that make your Zoom background look like a child's play area. Go for those $1 million deals with this LA skyline at your pick. So can you picture yourself living the high life? Share this video with someone you know. I'll be a comment below for more information.
Let's give it for Krys on the first video. But even now when I say it's almost like that's a little bit more in his basic wheelhouse. There's some more stuff we're going to show you, but I want to build on the foundation here that everyone else can replicate. So I have kind of a few things I want to point out and then kind of maybe let you elaborate on the strategy of this video. But like number one, you guys notice he wasn't looking and talking to the camera at any. It was all just straight vehicles. So really simple, nothing crazy, complicated. But maybe backing up comes from the doing. You're showing a home. Like that's the thing that you guys do on a regular basis. And so finding a way to do a home showing, but in a more creative way. And maybe the third thing I thought was super genius, like weaving in your little personality, we're making all these little jokes and kind of subtle comments. Like I think it's a good way to create some human side to it. But how can everyone in the room start implementing even this type of video going forward?
I think it was Justin. Somebody was saying doing more out of what you are already doing, right? So as a real estate agent, if your job is to go preview houses, or if you are showing your buyer's property, or you're driving around a neighborhood to get the comps because you want to see what the neighbor's house really looks and feels like, I think those are the opportunities to triple down on it and just capture whatever it is that you are up to and turn it into some sort of marketing content. I've really began leaning more into these voiceover videos as a result of me trying to figure out how to do more with less. I've been making the content now for 6 years consistently, like religiously, and that's what I thought was my superpower. And I think it was Justin that said, it's like people come 6 months, a year, and then they're gone. I didn't want to be that, and I wanted to create a voice of my own. And now, and I think this is the part that everyone is on a different part of their journey, is now that it's been this many years of doing it, and I feel very confident that the muscle is built, like it don't fucking matter what I'm up to, the video gets posted. It just happens now. Now that that's happening, what's my purpose behind every piece? Because there's levels to it, right? And I really respect Taya was saying you need to give your opinion. I think it's really hard if you're not somebody that's confident in their voice, and we're all finding our voice on the internet, to give your opinion transparently. I think, and this is not political, but this is why like Trump is so popular or Grant Cardone is so popular. They're incredibly polarizing. They draw the line in the sand and you love them or hate them. But I think for somebody that's beginning to build an audience online, it's really difficult to be that genuine. And we all aspire to be Taya, like she is one of my favorites, but she didn't start like this. She's aspired into this. So we don't rip off one another's content, we're inspired by it, and if you're not comfortable to give your opinion at first, that's okay. Give somebody else's opinion, give the statistic, and that muscle's gonna be built, and eventually you will tell them what you feel. But it doesn't have to start like that on day one. That didn't answer your question at all.
I think it completely is, because we'll see with the next video here, it's building on that foundation. Because to your point, it's easy to look at someone's journey 5-7 years down the road and be like, well, I want to start there. But
right.
Like, you have to see kind of the sequence of how someone really got there. So you remember, we started with that first video on purpose. I'm going to show these next 2 videos on purpose with how he kind of built on this same creativity and strategy. Let's start with video 1.
Yeah, the other thing I love about this Normal house, number one, this home is 3-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, and totally open house. I love how the kitchen, living room, and dining room only flow together seamlessly. Number 2, the lot. We have this killer zero-escape front yard with little to no maintenance, tons of parking for cars, and this killer backyard. Perfect for barbecue parties. Just hanging out. And number 3 is the location. New Orleans, hands down, one of the best cities in the Southeast LA, and we need access to the 915, the 105, and 605 freeway connect to downtown LA or Orange County. So who do you know looking for an Orleans? Share this video link or comment also below for more information.
Alright, so definitely took it up a notch from there, right? Let's give it another spot. I mean, so the hook, and, you know, sitting in the bathtub, sitting on the counter, jumping on the couch, like all the different cuts. You were actually talking to the camera on that one. Is that just more like once in a while? Does that take a ton more effort, or is that kind of the sequence in building on that last video you did?
Yeah, I keep coming back to the kid, but by a show of hands, how many people have kids? Yeah, it's fascinating once you have something else that you want to go home for, it changes the mindset. And when I started doing this, there was no kid, there was no wife, I didn't give a fuck. It was like, let's work, baby. Like late night, this is what I want. And now it's how do I squeeze more out of less? So we have, and I'm happy to share this with you guys, I should have made a QR for this, but we've created master listing board templates. So when I approach a listing now, it's not as sexy as it appears. Every house is getting the same 3 things I love video. Every house is getting the payment video. It's like I'm not having to recreate the wheel that I used to, because now I just made a template and every house is going to get these assets, because it is a lot of fun to make video. It's tremendous fun and I get so much joy from it. But it's also a tremendous amount of money, right? Like I have Joaquin on my payroll, right? And it's like whether I'm selling a house or not, he's getting paid. And it's my time. So how do we squeeze more out of what we are doing? And I am leveraging it. So it's like, let's take it out of the video and to the business. If you are making a video about a listing, I really hope, and maybe we're doing it after this meeting, you will put together everything you've done for one listing. And for the next appointment you go on, say, this is going to be our marketing calendar. How can we leverage these assets into things that we can give them at the kitchen table? Because yes, they know us from watching the video, but they're still buyers or sellers, right? Like they're still consumers that are questioning you until they really love you and trust you. And there is a tremendous difference between me saying, look at the Instagram video I made, and look at the 30-day marketing action plan that I made for just you, and it's gonna show you that an email is gonna go out this day, it's gonna show you that there's an Instagram post going on this day, I have a YouTube video dropping this day. We're already fucking doing it, aren't we? Put it in a Canvas sheet so that you can give it to them at the table. And that's why it's like, it's the same video you're about to show next. This Leona Valley house, maybe that's why you did it.
Let's play next one. You'll see exactly what he's talking about.
Connor's 2 steps ahead.
Taking this idea of a template, a system that works, and then building on it. So let's play the next one, Leona Valley.
Here, 3 things I love about the sales crowd. Number 1 is the lot. We are just under 4 acres of land and we are accepted well for water and pro-fuel utility. Ways for the electricity perfect for someone wanting to be off the grid. Number 2 is
I just sold this house today.
He just sold that house today, guys. Give him a round of applause. It must work. The marketing must work. I can't remember if you did this on the last video, but I noticed in the call to action, the mini chat. So everything from 3 things, hook, all the cuts, the B-roll, the talking, and then the call to action at the end. That looks like we can already start to see the template for
Right.
these products.
You can't compare yourself to other people that are in a different season of you. And we are exactly the same in the sense that I am sitting in the back of this room and I am looking at Kyle Whistle and I say, God, how? You know? Like you're not smarter, you're not better looking, like how? He's in a different season, right? And he's earned that by doing stuff. So the many chats and the automations are really at a place in which maybe some of us are not at because you're just trying to build the muscle to show up. And that's so much fucking energy and exhausting, right? And I remember the crippling mornings of like, what am I gonna post? And what's the caption gonna be? And I have to show up. And it's just like, oh, I gotta do it. And that takes all the bandwidth that I can't even fucking think of the automation, right? Like I'm just not there. And now, very transparently, I haven't shot anything other than anything for a listing in the last month because I want to create nothing unless it has a purpose. Because I'm not in the season anymore that I feel like I need the muscle to show up. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. And I will figure out what the next iteration of this is because we have to continue to evolve and we have to continue to push. And once you show up every single day, well then what's the next thing, right? And I know it's very tough to be in these situations in which it's like, well, it's easy for them to say they have the listing, right? I'm in the same thing. It's like, look at the house I'm selling. It's a $610,000 house, which I'm not shrugging against, but I'm sitting in a room against people that are selling $1 million listings. Like, I've never sold an $11 million house. I will. Tay is my friend. I'm proud of her. I'm not jealous. But I have to pull myself out of my ass and say, this is okay. This is my life. I'm happy with this. I'm serving them. And now, with the content, what are the layers to it? And I am being surgical about this. If I am making something, how do I turn it into a deliverable to give to the client? Right? How do I, especially now, the NAR settlement, what value are you giving to the buyer? Jason Cassidy started the whole, I have a buyer in Bird Rock, shopping between 2 and 3 million. He started that shit, and it's fucking brilliant. But do you know what? It's worthless to just post it on the internet, in my opinion, because now I would guess Jason has this in every presentation, right? I'm sure he does. It's like a no-brainer. So when I meet with a buyer now, listen, at this price point, I'm able to do this for you. At this price point, I'm gonna look for off-market opportunities, and here is one example of how I do it. You following?
It's the doing. It keeps coming back to like the way, I like the way you're saying you're less in a season of just like creating a whole bunch of shit just to do it, but like focused on, all right, if I'm showing homes that has a purpose, then I'll make content for that. So
Right.
focusing on the doing still. Let's hit another example. messages, but now just continuing to build on the creativity. Number one, we got Mama Benyameain involved, right? So
Mom's a goat.
And but just collaboration. You got multiple people in this video now. There's still the the humor, the sarcasm, but there's that keyword again, collaboration. You're involving more people. So is that also part of the purpose? Is still focused on the listing, but involving people in your circle?
Yeah, so I don't have a big team. It's really like my mom and myself. I have one agent and like a support staff. Joaquin is part of the team, so it's a very small SEAL team. We do average about 100. I think this year we'll probably close like 90-something transactions. My median price point's about, thank you.
Crazy productivity per agent. We usually see a team of like 40 agents.
Well, and I keep coming back to more out of less and questioning myself because like I lived in San Diego up until 2 weeks ago. That's the truth. And most of my production is in LA and Orange County. I spent hours in the car every week, hours, 1,000 miles a week on average. I don't think I'm in the season of my life anymore that I want to chase every transaction. Because there was a season in which I will chase everything. I'm going to Palmdale this weekend if you guys don't know where that is. Partly because I love the seller, but partly because like, I don't know, it's like an immigrant thing. I don't know what it is. I just like fucking run as fast as I can and I'm learning to harness that. The formula with these is part of the template. I always want to make something creative that I can run an ad against on YouTube. That's the truth. So you'll see triple stacks. You guys know when they say like a triple stack, it's like a horizontal video just stacked 3 times. That makes a vertical piece of content, right? It makes a vertical when you put 3 together that are horizontal. So I would just say, what are you giving them already? And how do you squeeze a little bit more out of it? And I will be glad to share it with you like the template. It's just the same shit. It's like what you're looking at. 3 things I love. House tour, prices, one creative one. We're doing a lot of launch parties. I guess that's where it's going.
Yeah, this is where you really see the creativity go through the roof. So you're putting all the pieces together from the template, the hooks, the collaborations, the like skit, funny parts of it. So let's watch example number 1 on the left.
This is a good one. Triple stack, YouTube video. We shot it once, right? Like a little bit vertical and most.
Alright, let's pause this one. I want to talk about for a minute. So, a few things in there, right? It's all the triple stack that we just talked about. A crazy strong hook. So I can almost guarantee that one had a really solid watch time in the beginning there. Collaboration with multiple people. Let's play the second one. That's going to be
This one was aggressive.
right into the property. Let's pause this one. So again, really strong like template approach where he has the hooks in place, he has the collaborations in place, the catching you off guard, and then back to the property, the purpose, the doing, the showing, what he actually does for a living. So I mean, anything on like before we show the film, like is there anything you want to add about those 2 videos?
Yeah, it's really maybe not so much about the video, it's more about what we're doing with these. As all of us are finding new ways to do business, generate business, have more conversations, I think it's important to think about what you like doing and what you might be good at, especially because I've been in the TF ecosystem for a lot of years, and in so many arenas, it's like make the phone calls, make the phone calls, make the phone calls. And I don't disparage the phone calls because like that's definitely where a lot of business comes from. But we have been leaning probably in the last 6 months to these launch parties. I'm not calling them mega open houses because an open house, in my opinion, is like, yeah, right? But a launch party has some ethos and energy to it, and we're certainly investing to pull them off. But I would say the way that we get to market the launch party and then the turnouts that we've been having as a result of having those launch parties, and then, I mean, we all know this, like you're doing it with the hope of course, capturing the buyer, but you want to capture somebody in the community that wants to also sell their house, right? Like That's the big picture approach. And we are finding tremendous success in starting conversations a different way. You know, I invested $1,200. I was just telling Gio about this, $1,200 in a canopy, like, you know, like a pop-up that you would buy at Costco. And it's so cheesy, but you set up a pop-up at your open house, and suddenly it's like an open house nobody's ever seen before. And it's just like, dude, it's a fucking canopy. It's a little bit more effort to set up a canopy, don't get me wrong, but like, it's a fucking canopy, right?
Taco stand.
Yeah, and like, but you leverage the local businesses, right? So the businesses that we've been partnering, like the churro guy or the restaurant that I had at this party, is a local business from that community. And I know, as well as you guys know, sometimes people don't give a fuck about the real estate we're selling. So if I have a local restaurant that I'm using to help me throw this party, damn right, I had that restaurant's logo blasted on my mail, all the direct mail. And sure enough, I had 3 neighbors like, I don't give a fuck about this house, but I saw Mr. Rosewood is gonna be here. And I'm like, yes, you did. And now I know you. You know, so it's just like layering all these things on top of one another, because it is so much time to make this video. And what is your true intent? Do we wanna be Instagram famous? Do we wanna be YouTube famous? And I fully believe you can be if you want to be. Like, that's a fair pursuit and it's an honest one, but be honest with yourself if that's the pursuit. If you want to be transactional, you want to sell more houses. Do you guys know how much harder it is to show up every single day when your videos don't pop? Straight up, like, follow my shit. It's not like everything is going viral. That's the truth. But you build a resilience, because at the end of the day, like, they love you for you, right? Taya don't judge me for my videos not performing like her videos. She fucks with me, right? So think, yeah, all of us. But I'm just saying, as you're looking at these people on stage selling hundreds of houses or making viral content, there's so much more than that, and I don't think you should get lost in the sauce, get lost in what you want to do for your business, and like backwards extrapolate. Can I share one thing on that? Every week I've set the goal for myself to create one asset for my business, 1 week. And the reason I put myself on that short end of the stick is because a couple years back, I started creating this agent-to-agent email just because I wanted to get like more referrals. So I'm just like, what can I put in this email that's substantive? And I was always like, let me give them this social media thing. Let me give them this. I'm like, fuck that. Why don't I just give them the things that I'm doing in my business? So it's like I make this weekly seller checklist so I can do better with my sellers. And then I give it to the real estate agents, right? Because it was like forcing me to make the checklist, but now I have this wonderful asset that I'm doing with my seller. Does that make sense? I wanted this calendar to give to my seller, and I was like, all right, agents would love that too. So let me force myself to make this calendar. And you guys see it's like that slow down to speed up.
And I hope you see the theme too that comes from the doing. So like all this tying back to the launch party because of an open house, because of the listening. So
right.
The doing, I think, leads to the creativity. In fact, this is the final slide, the final video of Krys's portion. And actually, just before we play it, because we can just end on the video, I'd love for you to just kind of come back to this point of like doing. Like, is the answer, because like sometimes it's not as easy as like, go show a bunch of houses. Now.
Correct.
Like obviously everyone would love to, but like, what's a way to like generate the doing? Because I think again, a lot of times the creativity, we feel like we have to be in the office, in the studio, like a mad scientist.
Yeah.
But like, is there other ideas to just go out there and do to make content?
Yeah, I think was it Raquel, the podcaster, right before it? I think she said something really profound. She was like, sometimes you start something and then you kind of realize it's not what you thought. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? It's supposed to have friction. It's supposed to be a little bit difficult. And there are so many aspects to the business that are exactly the same. So, I mean, this is not novel, right? This is like everybody's telling you guys the same shit. Put it on the calendar to come up with ideas, non-negotiably, right? Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Commit to 30 minutes of looking at the wall and feeling that agitation. I don't have ideas. I don't know what I'm doing. This is so silly. We always want to push off the stuff that we know we should be doing, so put it on the calendar, and it's okay if it's hard, and it's okay if you don't know where to begin. But you just start. Truthfully, that's your first piece of content. Sit down to come up with ideas, take your cell phone so it's not in your hand, put it on a tripod, and time lapse it. And that's going to be piece of content number one. And you won't have the distraction of your phone. You'll have a notepad or your iPad to take notes on. And that's your first thing. You want to believe that you wake up in the morning with this fucking gusto of making the shit. Nobody does, right? Nobody does. Some days you do, but a lot of days you don't. And when you don't, what the fuck do? You just like hit snooze on your alarm, you begrudgingly put your shoes on and you go to the gym. Like it's the same muscle and it's the same repetition. And that's the thing with the Everest stuff is, you know how you do hard shit? Do more hard shit, right? Like I'm a product of an immigrant family. It would fucking suck to work at McDonald's and it would be hard to make ends meet, but I wouldn't have the stress of sales and bullshit and running a team in a business, right? That's one kind of hard. It's hard to try to come up with videos. It's hard to serve buyers and sellers. It's all fucking hard. It's all hard. Choose your hard. And this is like metaphorical and appropriate, but like, what dick do you want to suck? What shit do you want to eat? I mean that. It's all fucking hard. But what hard do you want?
Choose your heart. Let's give it a round of applause right there. Before we really say goodbye, we're just going to watch this one last video.
Creativity, like our emotions, come in waves. I heard Krys say this quote one time that says, I never get too happy when things are good, but I never get too sad when things are bad. And I remember hearing Krys say that in his video, and I was like, this is fucking cool, impressive. Don't be too happy. I'm not built on being 110. And then I thought to myself, I don't think Bruce Lee is trying to tell us not to feel the tremendous highs and tremendous lows of our emotions. I think what Bruce Lee is trying to tell us is that we are not our emotions, right? So the same way that the waves become crashing on the beach, and the same way that the tide can pull water out and make everything still, is the same way that we have to acknowledge our emotions, and we have to acknowledge creativity. Creativity comes from you.
Krys, Benyameain, guys, let's go.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You killed it.
Appreciate you a lot.